What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple Newtype, and in this episode, we are deep diving into the history of our favorite junker. Okay, our favorite junker in Universal Century, Judau Ashita. Not only did he defeat Haman and Neo-Zeon, but he also went on to create his own humanitarian group of Jovians free from the terrorism of the Jupiter Empire. He and a few others may be the only ones that became true Newtypes. In this video, we discuss why Judau just may be the best protagonist out of the three boys. So let's get into this. Universal Century 0088. Judau is 14 years old when we first meet him on Shangri-La, and is the youngest of the three protagonists thus far. A conversation from Judau reveals that his family is off-planet working, and they send money back to Judau and his sister Lena. But that isn't enough, so Judau resorts to working as a junker. Unlike Amado and Camille, Judau is, for all intents and purposes, already an adult who is taking care of a family child. Much of his motivations when we first meet Judau is to ensure that Lena can afford to go to school. Everything changed when he found a pod. It happens to be Yazan. The argument comes to side one. Yazan uses Judau and his terrorist friends Bicha and Mondo to help him steal Zeta Gundam. But then Judau touches a special Newtype boy who recently short-circuited his brain. After Yazan kills Segusa, Judau gets in the Gundam and saves the day. Judau bails from the Gundam, only to sneak onto the Argama once again. He gets into the Gundam again and fights Mashima. He has the power of God, anime, and Haman on his side. Judau says to L, check out my lack of nipples. This back and forth goes on for a few episodes. The Argama crew invites Judau to join the crew. He declines. But we got food. Alright, I'm in. Also, an important factor was Lena thinking it would be good for him, but also the food. Judau meets Rue in the Neo Core Fighter. She's been doing AUG stuff. Some of that was retconned into Zeta Define. Judau says, can we leave this trash colony in the Looney Tunes behind us now? They only end up toning it down a little bit and adding a character that constantly orgasms. At this point for Judau, all that matters is the survival of him and Lena. He isn't tied down to the military like Amado. We also can assume that the AUG service is all voluntary, as well as we see Fa just straight up bail. Judau saves Lena, who has just been gottened. Get it? Cause his name is Gotten. For the first time, Judau pilots Double Zeta against Mashima. Judau pilots Zeta with a Zaku head. Glimmy steals Lena. Judau's need for survival changes to a need to get his sister back. He takes piloting a little more seriously from this day on. Judau eats Coom slop. That's a weird sentence. Glimmy uses Lena as bait to lure out Judau. Bicha and Mondo says it's just a prank, bro. Judau and the crew head to Moon Moon. Do they know about the hippies and the drugs? I don't think they know about the hippies and the drugs. Judau tells the tribe to be happy they were forgotten since everyone is dying on the outside world. This inspires Rosara to leave and proselytize. No, that's not what he was trying to say, don't do that. Judau is strong enough to resist the deception of boobs. I'm proud of you. He says, peace, I'm heading to Axis to find Lena. He sneaks in to find Pudu instead. The two run into Haman. She realizes that she really needs this boy. He ends up fighting against Pudu, leading towards her initial jealousy towards Lena. Judau gets close to saving his sister, but Pudu says, better step back. Unlike Camille, Judau doesn't take shit from Wong. Time for some pizza.
Strike!
Judau watches Taurus's girlfriend blow up and think this is all f***ed up, or makes people crazy. They fight against Neo-Zeon once again. Haman meets with Judau. She says, I don't care if you're 14, I'm going to wreck your little Newtype body, kid. Judau runs away from being touched. Bright thinks that Judau's only motivation these days is just to save Lena, and that he will leave once this is accomplished. But Rue understands that Judau bears the burdens of others and won't leave because of that. While this is happening, Judau is trying to help Pudu see that she is like a little sister to him. But the Glimmy grooming is strong in her. Judau heads to Earth for the first time. He meets some Earthnoids that remind him of his relationship with his sister. He tells them to not make the same mistakes he has, and helps the family move away from war. While crossing the desert, Judau fights against various Zeon remnants. He realizes that there are people who are still fighting the one-year war. He is saddened that he had to kill people that ultimately were never his enemy. Judau heads to Dakar to save Lena. Haman shoots Lena. Time for some Newtype rage. He tries to get Lena out of there, but he is shot down in the core fighter. Lena fights Pudu, but it's short-lived because Lena blows up. Whoops. Luckily, she really isn't dead, but for Judau, his entire driving factor in life is now gone. What does he live for now? It's okay, Pudu is his sister now. They make their way towards Dublin. Judau was shirtless most of the trip. Judau punches the rich elite for bending the knee to Haman. Bright and Judau are taken prisoner, and the elite are blown up. Fa conveniently saves the two. EFF tries to confiscate the Argama, but even the children laugh at the Federation and tell them to get lost. They help find Camille. Hayato informs the Argama that Neo-Zeon is dropping a colony on Dublin. Judau gets into an argument with Hayato about losing Camille in battle. Through this conversation, Hayato realized that perhaps pushing cats too hard is what got him killed. Meanwhile, Judau tries to be there for Pudu as though making up for lost time with Lena. Judau watches Hayato die. He fights Rack and Decarin while the colony comes crashing down on Dublin. Judau hears the voice of grief, but Camille tells him that this feeling that Judau feels now is the reason to fight back. This is the only moment of Camille acting as a mentor to Judau. Judau fights against Poodoo 2 and the Psycho Gundam Mark II. Poodoo blows herself up to protect Judau, but the Psycho Gundam is still standing. Much of Judau's Newtype power is unleashed in moments of rage. They head back into space without the Argama. The AU tells Bright he can't use children. Bright says, you know what, I'm gonna take a break. I earned it. The kids are in charge now. They steal the Nahal Argama. The gang heads to Tiger Bomb to do a little cross-dressing. They meet up with some Moon Sisters. Oh, Moon Sister, one just died. After Dublin, Earth gives Neo Zeon the colony, Core 3. Kara soon had a short relationship with the Argama crew. Judau tries to save her, but she has undergone cyber-Newtype enhancements which stop her. She ends up whipping Judau and rubbing them titties. Judau and the gang focus on the people of Core 3 while Glimmy and Haman have their civil war. Judau faces off against Poodoo 2. The children of Core 3 are safe. Judau tries to save Minerva, but is stopped by child predator Haman. She tries to empathize with him, but Judau sees Haman and Glimmy as opposite sides of the same coin. They flee without Minerva. Poodoo speaks to Poodoo 2 through Judau, but she rejects it. Newtypes are starting to sink on the battlefield as they all sense Mashimer's death. Meanwhile, Lena is alive and in the care of Sayla. The civil war continues on. Judau takes down Rak and Dakarin. He then saves El and Rue from Glimmy and Poodoo 2. Judau stands up to the royal bloodline nonsense that Glimmy preaches. Poodoo deserves her independence. Judau saves Poodoo while Rue kills Glimmy. He saves the girls from Axis before it catches on fire. There is or was something between El and Judau, but the moment is gone for the two. Have fun being with Bicha. Judau heads out to fight Haman. She no longer wants this teenager inside of her. Mosa crashes into Core 3. Judau ejects in the Core fighter and the two have a space battle. Eat some inanimate carbon rod, Haman. Judau uses the power of Newtypes to reconnect the Gundam, which requires 3 people usually. The Cubely tanks the high mega cannon. They resort to fighting with beam sabers. Judau slices the Cubely in half. Haman admits defeat and kills herself due to some false sense of honor that Judau ultimately never understood. After the Ayug shows up too late and learning Minerva is a fake, Judau takes out his frustration on Bright. He's over the people on Earthsphere. Judau and Rue join the Jupiter Energy Fleet, but not before Judau is reunited with Lena. They bid farewell to Earth and say hello to Jupiter. Judau is in Double Zeta GR protecting the Jupiter's-class ship. I'll break this mobile suit down if I ever cover Gundam Evolve. It's never gonna get a Blu-ray release. You were all stuck with that old DVD from 24 years ago? Fuck you, time. Neo Zeon remnants and Dovan Wolves are in the area. They happen to be chasing a Cubely mass production type. The Cubely begins fighting Double Zeta. Judau ends the battle with a high mega cannon. He looks out to see the Cubely pilot wearing the same pilot suit as Poodoo 2. I've heard many speculate that this could be Marita Cruz, or one of the many other ones. UC 0090. Judau is visited by Amado Ray searching for the real Men of Wasabi. He mentions that Rue broke up with him. He and Amado go on an adventure and end up fighting Ideon. The events in this Gaiden manga may or may not have happened. UC 0093. In Gundam Pulitzer, L tells Kika Kobayashi a time when Zeon remnants attacked Shangri-La. Luckily, at that same time, Judau and the Jupiter fleet was making its return to Earth. UC 0097. Also in Gundam Pulitzer, we learn that Lena is still with Sayla Mass and acting as her ward. UC 103. Newtypes are being chased by Damien Karis, who will go on to be the main villain in Mobile Suit Crossbone Gundam. He is rounding up Newtypes for Jovian indoctrination. No, Karis, don't do a bad touch on that Newtype. Hasegawa, man, you chose that pose and you went with it. Luckily, Mobile Suits come in to save the day. It is Judau, now going by the name Grey Stoke. He is in the GUMP, which is a heavily modified Double Zeta to hide its appearance. Since he is fighting Karis, we can assume that Judau has fractured from the Jupiter Space Fleet at this point. UC 136. Grey Stoke meets with Tobiah Anarax and the Crossbone crew. He hires Crossbone to help him find Amado Ray. We learn that this is actually battle data of Amado Ray that would be put in a BioBrain computer seen in Crossbone Gundam. They end up fighting an Amakasa and prevent BioBrains from falling into the hands of the Jovians. In the same year, Tobiah learns of the Jupiter Colony laser and forms a team called Steel 7. Originally, Tobiah contacted Grey Stoke to join their team, but he and his neutral Jovian faction are in between Earth and Jupiter and won't make it in time. UC 153. The Zanskar War is in full effect. Uso is saved by a now 79-year-old Grey Stoke. He plans on using Sidechickers and Angel Halo tech to leave the solar system with a group of Newtypes. His ship is called the Dandelion, and it will take them to Proxima Centauri. Zanskar tries to stop the Dandelion. Uso and Grey Stoke fight, but the GUMP is on its last breath. He thanks Double Zeta for being with him for 60 years and fires the high mega cannon for the last time. The GUMP's reactor blows up, and with it, the legacy of Double Zeta. After destroying Zanskar, Grey Stoke and his Newtypes leave the solar system. Universal Century 653. The Dandelion crew colonizes Alpha Centauri, but that story is beyond human comprehension. And that will conclude the full story of Judau Ashita. Unlike Amuro and Camille, Judau wasn't forced into a chain of command. Because of this, he always was able to confide in the people around him. He had a strong group of friends with equal say, which I believe is the reason why Judau was able to hold it together so well compared to the other two. He also persevered and continued fighting well into old age. In his later life, he focused on providing peace and neutrality for the Jovians, even when their planet was trying to destroy Earth. And in the end, Judau and his group of Newtypes might actually be the only true Newtypes. If Newtypes flourish, it will be because of Newtypes on Alpha Centauri. Let me know which other characters I should do a deep dive on. And go watch our only other deep dive, which happens to be on Makuve. But that will do it for now, Newtypes. Remember, Judau was able to keep Double Zeta relevant in the age of the Wings of Light. That's skills right there. Peace.